Hello and welcome to English Department TV. Today we're looking at a piece of writing to describe coursework for the iGCSE Cambridge course. This is looking at a piece of coursework I've entitled The Examination Room. If on writing it you want to change the title, maybe you just want exam or you want something else, maybe you've got an emotion that you want to put as the title, that's absolutely fine. But just as a working title, The Examination Room. Let's have a look at the idea of writing to describe them before we start. We focus on the senses, what you see, hear, taste, touch, smell. What you've got to be careful of though is not just listing, oh, I see this, I hear this, I taste this, I touch, otherwise it just makes a boring piece of work. A lot of people often go, oh, but how can I write what I taste? I'm not going to be eating anything in the exam room. Well, you can taste emotion, so you can taste fear in the air or various things like that. So you don't have to take all the senses literally. Another thing that writing to describe is it is not narrative. That means it doesn't have a storyline. So partway through your assignment, a mass murderer is not going to enter the examination room and something like that. It's not plot driven, it's just describing what you see, hear, taste, touch, smell and feel as well, actually, emotions. Okay, so what do we use then if it's not narrative? Well, we use our MAPSO techniques. There might be a few more on here than you're used to seeing. So we'll just quickly go through them. Metaphor, where something is described as another thing. You should know metaphor. One thing that you might not be sure about is extended metaphor. So this is where you take a normal metaphor and you carry on over a few sentences. So let's have a look at my admittedly slightly melodramatic example. It's a bit over the top, this, but never mind, it gets the idea across. The words were bullets that penetrated my heart. So that's your basic metaphor, describing the words as if they're bullets. As she stood there firing her insults. Okay, now it's extended because we've looked at the idea of bullets and coming out of a gun to firing insults. So it's already an extended metaphor. But it continues. As she stood there firing her insults, I stared helplessly down the barrel of her gun. So again, there with the idea of barrel of her gun, that is extended further. Now I feel dead inside, the idea that she shot me, I died. That is an extension of the metaphor. Her trigger tongue can hurt me no more. Okay, so that is an extended metaphor, and you could produce something similar in your piece. Alliteration, we've done that lots of times. Adverbs adds drama to a passage. Adverbs are generally ly words that add something to the verb. So if we look, suddenly he slowly crept, quickly he turned. Notice that last one, it could be he turned quickly, but I've chosen to start the sentence with the adverb. That's a really good technique. So try and make sure that through this you start some of your sentences with ly words or adverbs. Okay, adjectives, words that describe the noun. In that, it's not very easy to see there. The dank, dark, misty room struck fear into the innocent souls that entered it. So the room is described as dank, dark, misty, so that's the adjectives for that. And the souls later on are described as innocent, so they're the adjectives for there. Personification, where you give something that is not human qualities. So as a desperate boy scrambled his way through the forest, the branches clawed him, pulling him back into the heart of the danger. The branches can't actually claw him or pull him back, but we're giving them human qualities. Pathetic fallacy. You might not have come across this before. This is a really simple but effective technique of where the weather reflects the mood of the piece, of the text. So the sun rose on another beautiful day and Tim was feeling lucky. So the idea of it being a beautiful day, the sun's shining and Tim's feeling lucky. They mirror each other, as is as I sat down waiting to be sentenced, the clatter of thunder echoed throughout the courtroom. So the thunder reflecting the bad mood of somebody who's been sentenced to prison. Similarly, you covered that. Onomatopoeia, that's quite straightforward. An oxymoron is where you put two words that contradict or mean opposite each other. Famous example, sweet sorrow. Another example, dreaded excitement. Frozen fire in my heart. Fire can't actually be frozen, they're opposites. And the idea of that is that the fact that they contradict each other jars with the reader and makes it stand out more. Feel free to print this off. It should be uploaded onto Edmodo, so feel free to print this off and have a look through it in a bit more detail. Oops, I've just missed a slide out there. So let's just go on how we're going to be successful in this piece of work. So again, don't make it driven by a storyline. You're going to vary your sentence heights, paragraph lengths, try and get that one word paragraph in, vary your punctuation. We're going to look at some punctuation in a moment. Try and make every sentence you write effective and colourful for the reader. You know, really craft your sentences. Don't use basic sentences that other people could write. You make your piece unique to you. Use adventurous vocabulary. 5 sentences we've been over. And please note that the questions in the video and on the prompt sheet that I'm going to introduce you to in a minute is just to get you thinking. Don't just answer them. You don't have to include all my ideas or even any of my ideas if you don't want. It is your work, so you can take it in your own direction. So this is the prompt sheet. You'll find this on Edmodo. Please print it off. It will help you. Okay, so on Edmodo it's titled Writing to Describe the Examination Room. Alright, so just to quickly go over, if you want to print this off, I think it should also be on Edmodo by now. This is sentence type help sheet, and also there's a punctuation types help sheet. If you don't want to print it off, you can pause this screen and go through it yourself. Okay, so this is what we'll be describing the examination room, our hall at Roding Valley. First of all, you enter the room. Describe the room generally. You know, what's in front of you? Is it the stage? What does that look like? What does the floor look like? What does it feel like beneath your feet? Are there any sounds? The ceiling, is it particularly high? Are there sounds that echo because of that high ceiling? What are those sounds? How high is the ceiling? How is the seating set out? How does that make you feel? Okay, moving on. So you might want to pause the video now and just go through that and write that up now. Remember, we're aiming for between 500 and 800 words, so make sure you try and write at length. Okay, now think about the colours of the room. You notice the colours of the room, mainly blue and white. What do they connotate? What do they connote? What are the connotations of these colours? You know, white, is it clinical, sterile, like a hospital, medical? Does that have connotations of pain then? It's quite a plain colour. What does that make you think and feel? Blue, you know, the ocean's blue, that lasts forever. The sadness, depression is blue. Alright, again, you might want to pause it now, write a paragraph about the colours of the room and the connotations that has. Okay, so you sat back at your seat and you notice the window. So look at the panes on the window. Could they be likened to bars? If they could be likened to bars, could the room be likened to a prison? Could you extend that metaphor like I did with the bullets and the words? Could you write about how the room is like a prison? What else could make in the room could make you feel like it's a prison? Do you feel fear? Do you feel trapped? Is there no escape? Are the invigilators like prison guards? Do they have keys that jangle around their neck? How else could you make it so you extend that metaphor of the window panes looking like bars on a prison to the rest of the room and your feelings being like you're trapped in prison? Okay, you might want to pause that, maybe write quite an extended paragraph on that bit. See if you can get, between 15, 20 written lines. If you're typing it up, maybe looking at over 100 words on that bit, maybe. Okay, so let's go back to our seat and let's have a look at our exam paper. Can you personify the exam paper? Do the words all merge and turn into something? Is it a face that threatens you? Is the exam paper laughing at you, teasing you, calling your names? Is it threatening, taking hope away from you, crushing your dreams? Really personify and spend a paragraph talking about how that exam paper is making you feel, and try and give it some human qualities. Pause the screen, write a paragraph on that. All right. Oh, I think I've done this slightly in the wrong order, so I'll come back to that in a moment. You notice other students around you, do they all seem confident and smiling and ready for the exam? Does that really go against? You could maybe use an oxymoron here, talking about maybe their threatening pleasantness, maybe, or something like that. That's not a great idea, but think of your own. Think of how they're different from you. This could be quite a short paragraph, actually, describing your different emotions. And then finally, after you've done that paragraph, unpause it. What about the time? You hear the ticking. Does this remind you that the exam's about to start? How does this then make you feel? How loud is the ticking? Does it, again, echo around the room, or what does it sound like? Does it remind you of another sound? Maybe what's it ticking towards? It's ticking towards the start of the exam, but could you say that it's ticking towards something else as well? Is the clock or is the ticking saying anything to you? Does that, what are your final feelings before you start the exam? And then you can end your piece by having the exam start. You can indicate that in any way you want, whether the clock strikes a certain time or whether the invigilator tells you to go, or whatever. However you want to indicate the end of your piece is fine. Okay, so remember, if you finish now, do a word count. Make sure it's between 500 and 800 words. Read through it. Go through your sentence types and make sure everything is vivid and you've painted as many colourful pictures in the reader's mind and you've got across your feelings as possible. Make sure that you use the advanced punctuation. Make sure, go back now and insert a one sentence paragraph if you haven't got it already. Make sure your paragraphs vary in length. And if you do all that, then I'm sure you do very well on this piece of work. Okay, so good luck. As soon as you've done the piece of work, upload it onto Edmodo and I will mark it as soon as possible and give you some feedback. Okay, thank you. Bye.